In the tapestry of crime, certain threads are so dark, so deeply unsettling, that they challenge our fundamental understanding of humanity. Among these is the grim reality of the child serial killer. What defines a child serial killer? Criminologists generally agree on the criteria. The perpetrator must have murdered multiple children, typically in separate events. The motivations behind these horrific acts are often deeply rooted in complex psychological disturbances, far removed from rational thought. These crimes are rarely born of simple malice. Instead, they frequently stem from a confluence of severe childhood trauma, underlying personality disorders, and the development of disturbing and deeply entrenched fantasies. To illustrate the complexities and tragic realities of this phenomenon, let's delve into more specific details of the cases we mentioned. Pedro Rodrigues Filho. Filho's early life was marked by violence. He claimed a skull injury as an infant due to his father's abuse of his pregnant mother fueled his violent tendencies. His first murders occurred around the age of 14 in his hometown. Reportedly, he killed a security guard and the vice mayor who had fired his father after being accused of theft. These early acts demonstrated a pattern of violent retribution. Later, while in prison for these initial crimes, Filho murdered his own father, allegedly stabbing him multiple times and then consuming a piece of his heart. While the majority of his claimed victims were other criminals within the prison system and outside, his early homicides included individuals who could be considered children or young teenagers, highlighting a disturbing trajectory of violence that began at a young age. His case underscores the potential for extreme violence to manifest early in life and the challenges in containing such individuals within the justice system, even resulting in further violence behind bars. Mary Bell. The case of Mary Bell in 1968, Newcastle, shocked the United Kingdom due to the youth of the perpetrator and the victims. 10-year-old Mary Bell committed her first known killing on May 25th, strangling 4-year-old Martin Brown in an abandoned house. Disturbingly, she and a friend, 13-year-old Norma Bell, no relation, later returned to the scene and even discussed the details of the death with other children. Weeks later, on July 31st, 3-year-old Brian Howe was also found strangled, and his body showed signs of mutilation, including cuts to his abdomen and legs. Mary Bell showed a disturbing fascination with the deaths, even attending Martin Brown's funeral and making unsettling comments. Initially, police struggled to understand the motive, but eventually, Mary Bell confessed to the killings, though her accounts were often inconsistent. At her trial, she was diagnosed with diminished responsibility due to apparent psychopathic tendencies and a severely disturbed upbringing, marked by neglect and her prostitute mother's behavior. She was convicted of manslaughter and spent years in detention facilities, raising profound questions about a child's capacity for such violence and the long-term implications for both the perpetrator and society. Jesse Pomeroy. In the early 1870s, Boston was terrorized by a series of brutal assaults on young boys. The perpetrator, later identified as Jesse Pomeroy, was himself a child, only 13 years old when his most heinous crimes came to light. Prior to the murders, Pomeroy had already established a reputation as a bully and torturer of younger children. In 1872, he was arrested and sentenced to a reform school for a series of violent assaults. However, he was released surprisingly early. Following his release, the violence escalated dramatically. In 1874, 2 young children, 4-year-old Horace Millen and 7-year-old Katie Curran, disappeared. Pomeroy quickly became the prime suspect. Horace Millen's mutilated body was discovered on Pomeroy's property, and while Katie Curran's body was never found, the evidence strongly implicated Pomeroy in her death as well. The brutality of the crimes, committed by such a young individual, horrified the nation. Pomeroy was eventually convicted of first-degree murder for the death of Horace Millen and sentenced to death, a sentence later commuted to life imprisonment. His case remains a chilling example of extreme violence committed by a child and raises disturbing questions about the factors that can lead to such depravity at such a young age. The question of what drives a child to commit such horrific acts is a complex one, with no easy answers. Research suggests potential contributing factors can include severe early childhood abuse, neglect, abandonment, and the development of significant personality disorders, often characterized by a lack of empathy and a distorted sense of power. Investigating these crimes presents unique challenges for law enforcement. Children may be less able to articulate abuse or abduction, and their disappearances might initially be misattributed. The often clandestine nature of these crimes and the psychological cunning of some young offenders can make identification and apprehension incredibly difficult. Like and subscribe for more.